Hello YouTube. Today I'm going to change the oil on my bus and change filters and a few other things. Well, that's what I'm doing right now. When you're going to do this, I always change the oil filter and the transmission filter. Once a year I change the transmission filter. It looks just like an oil filter. It's just mine goes on the outside. I think there's an internal one. Like I said, it looks just like a oil filter. But I'm going to change that while I'm down there because why not? A few more bucks. Before I go under there, the oil filter is much bigger, so I marked them. Transmission, oil, so I know. Now, equipment you need is you can get by with a big cut-off drum or something that'll hold, in my case, 16 quarts, or you can get a oil pan or drain pan like this. This one is a 16 quarter, and it basically take this plug out of here, and it'll all drain down inside, and you can take it to a place where you buy your oil, and most places will take the oil back unless you've got a friend who has a reclaimed oil heater and or knew somebody else who can use it, but I don't, so I'll just take it back to someplace that will dispose of it environmentally, in an environmental sound way. All right, and the other thing you need is some wrenches. I'm not sure what size I need under there, but we will go. Let's get under there and get to doing it. If you've never changed the oil before, the things you're looking at is, here's your engine, and this is your oil pan. This is the drain plug. Behind it, because I have an automatic transmission, is the transmission pan, and there is a drain plug on that too. Last year I drained the transmission fluid. I have no idea how old it was, but now I know it's only a year old, and I'm going to change the filter every year. Probably going to change the transmission fluid every 5 years. That's just my opinion. Other people may want to change it more often. It's totally up to you. But, so in order to change the oil, we need to take this out. You notice I'm wearing gloves. This does tend to get a little messy. And I've also got a rag handy. One thing you want to do is, it is going to, like I said, there's 16 quarts of oil in here, which is probably up in here somewhere. So when I take this out, it's going to come out quite a ways. So I want to have this pan, and turn around, so that this edge, or where this is by the end of this pan, where it's under, this is over it, so that if it does, when it gets to the dripping point, it'll be fine there. But when it shoots out, you'll see it will come out quite a ways. And I'm using a pipe wrench that goes on, let's see, get it over here a little bit, where, because it's on more surfaces, it won't tend to round it off. And it doesn't take much. Once I break it free, I can get the wrench out of the way, and I do is I keep pressure on it so that when we get to the point where it's totally out, it's still plugging the hole. And I try to get my hand above it so that, okay, so now I know it's loose. Just take it out and we'll let it drain out. When this is happening, it's a good idea to to look at the end of this and see if there's any kind of metal filings on there. This is magnetic, and I'm not seeing anything. Oh. I forgot to open the air thing to let the air out. So now I got a big puddle of oil that I'm gonna have to clean up. That's why I got the rag. Oh well, don't do what I did. Open up the air valve so that the air can come out while the oil is going in. Once it's drained out enough, I put the plug back in. Get it nice and snug. And we'll just get this pan out of the way. And I like to give it a little wipe just to get the excess off. Keeps it a little cleaner down here. And that's basically it for draining the oil. In my case, the oil filter is right up here. And hopefully, see if I can get my arm up in here. Somehow. This should not be that loose. So it has somehow vibrated itself a little bit loose since the last time I was under here. Whenever I get under the bus, I will check that. And for whatever reason, it's been leaking. I've been losing a lot of oil. So it must have just happened to get to the point where it's dripping a little bit. But this will be full of oil. So I try to keep it upright as much as possible. And then set it in the pan to drain out. Then we get the new oil filter. And you'll see there's a rubber gasket. You want to get a little bit of oil on that gasket. Not much. Just take a finger, dip it in the old used oil, and put it on there. The reason for that is to put a little oil between it and the engine so that it can, when it comes time to getting it loose, it'll break free a little bit better. And the transmission filter is much the same. I did loosen this beforehand. But again, it's full of fluid. So I got the pan underneath it. And the same thing, I want to cover the gasket with a little bit of transmission fluid and just put it up in here. Get it started. What the? Now once it's in, spin it till it makes contact, and you want to give it 3/4 of a turn so it's nice and tight. Then we go up above and we'll add some fluid and we check it. Make sure it's full. And then after I've driven it a little bit, I'll crawl under here and make sure both this and the oil filter are tight. And now that we've got it drained and the new filter's on, gonna add the oil. Right on the top of the engine, this one says diesel engine oil, see owner's manual. I like to use a nice big funnel. Eliminates a lot of possible mess. And one thing I definitely like to use is this Lucas heavy duty oil stabilizer. It is great for older engines or even newer engines. It increases the viscosity of the oil, and in other words, makes it a little thicker, a little stickier, so it'll stick to the all the moving parts a little better. One thing to keep in mind is, as you can see, it's got the consistency of honey. So I put this in first. I'm putting in a whole gallon. My engine holds 16 quarts, as I mentioned, and that will be 25%, which if you pour the jug sideways, it doesn't glug. Air can come on the top. Oil can go out through the bottom half of the opening, and you don't get that glug glug. Alright, I keep a little paint mixing bucket up here so that All that stays together. Now, check the level with a dipstick. And I wouldn't be surprised if it's down a little bit because it's still working its way down through. It's right up there. Now, I'm going to start this up, look for leaks. Hopefully everything down there, I'm pretty sure, is in nice and tight. It'll get it all stirred up, and then I will check it again for a check it again, make sure it's full, because the oil filter, until this gets running and pumping, it won't necessarily be full. So, and being a diesel, the oil will get black really quick. Once I get out on the road, be easier to read, because right now it's all nice and clean. So let me start it up, look for leaks, and hopefully we're done. See you later.